For the first time in over 50 years, a woman was sitting at the head of a delegation. A woman breaks through a barrier. She opens possibilities for every woman.
We need to also ensure that we have enhancement of our skills and abilities in a bid to ensure that we have even more to offer.
Obviously, it's not a pleasant situation. The present administration is doing everything possible to combat the issues of corruption, but even the issue of crude theft is a corruption issue. It is very difficult to instill changes as quickly as we are trying to instill them. Well, I think so. I think it does come down to the state of the economy in general. And I think that you will see, if you look particularly at the agricultural sector, which is the area in which we can derive the most benefits in terms of employment generation and job creation for the country. The very strident steps that are being taken at this time, I think in the entire continent of Africa, Nigeria is making the most forward progressive steps in terms of its agriculture, because that is the area that the entire North benefits from, since that's our food basket in Nigeria. And over the next 12 to 18 months, you will find that the wealth and the import of the agricultural reforms does in fact hit the very fundamental and the lowest levels of the agricultural farmers within the North. And I think you will see a major reform and turnaround from the heart of the North over the next 18 months in terms of agriculture. But in terms of oil, which you have mentioned several, and which is my sector, I think that the more we can transform the process and the framework of how not only we derive, but how we regulate and how we process the policies that implement the oil and the derivation that the various states in the Federation get from that oil, the better and the easier it will be for all Nigerians to begin to feel the impact of oil in various ways. Now, It is our gas, that feeds the various NIPPs that are going to fuel the power that will transmit throughout the country. The transmission and distribution infrastructure is what right now has to be tackled on the power sector very strongly. But when that is done, I think you will see a vast difference in terms of the power generation and distribution in the country, and that will translate into economic independence all the way down the line. We bring in our subsidies, our products at a certain price, and we sell them to the operators at about a third of that price, or even less than a third of that price. However, they are resold to the masses at over twice the amount the middle line operators get them. Nigeria is a very corrupt country. There is corruption in Nigeria, and it is also, I think, symbolic of the fact that there is corruption in most other places in the world at varying levels, of course. When we put in place bills like this, the intention is to ensure the sort of transparency and accountability that pushes back at that corruption and opaqueness. And I think we've done that. We've created at least 5 Kama companies, that is 5 companies with shareholding and equity from externals, which means that the government is actually divesting its control. A national oil company which will stand independent. That is what drives me every day. This is a most challenging sector for anybody, talk less of for a woman, in a man's world. But every day I face this work with a certain gusto and passion. And I am not feeble about it. Neither am I shaken. I put the energy into the sector, that I run. And I do feel that we've done pretty well. We have created and ensured that on our own, we hit back at major issues such as the subsidy fraud that was perpetuated mainly 2011, early 2012. In 2011 November, I, with one signature of the pen, cut off 92 marketers, throughput marketers, from our PPPRA scheme. That's a PMS, scheme. The deregulation we tried to, deal with. It was pushed back. So, like I said, it's a very vicious sector to be in, because you try to make major moves to actually make it more transparent and make it more responsible, such as the PIB, such as deregulation, complete subsidy deregulation, such as cutting out a whole tranche of marketers under whom we believed illicit or illegal acts are being carried out, and there's major pushback at you. And a responsibility that can impact positively on the lives of so many Nigerians. That is what drives me every day. This is a most challenging sector for anybody, talk less of for a woman, in a man's world. But every day I face this work with a certain gusto and passion. And I am not feeble about it. Neither am I shaken by the vagaries and the viciousness that surrounds, this sector, surrounds our economy and surrounds the politics of Nigeria. And it is incredibly vicious. But instead of turning around and being equally vicious, I put the energy into the sector, that I run.